Hello everybody, welcome to the end of November Wine Club, which in my head has been very confusing because I've called it the Christmas Wine Club because it's so close to Christmas, and we picked these three beauties really because it was nearer Christmas, but I still can't get into the Christmas mood.
Well, I've got some sparkly lights on around, in case you didn't notice.
Is that it? Is that Christmas for you, Christine?
Oh no, there'll be more.
Oh gosh, well I'm the complete opposite to you. I secretly took my partner's little, pink sparkly Christmas tree and gave it to the charity shop without him noticing.
Oh, you are kidding.
Well, it was in the way.
Well, there'd be blood on the dance floor if that happened.
Am I a horrible person?
Well, just, dubious Christmas credentials. That's
Definitely
all.
dubious Christmas credentials. Okay, so we've got three what I would call premium options for you. Definitely two of these are what I can sort of call exceptional drinks. So they're slightly more expensive, but they're for things that you might want to treat yourself to over the Christmas period. And so we've got the Jing sparkling Jasmine. We've got the Holos sparkling Oolong. And then because we don't want to put you out of not having a de-alkalized wine, we've got the very cautious one, red, which is a Shiraz. I like the name, the very cautious one.
Yes, and we had one of their wines a few months ago in the subscription box, in the club box, the Gewürztraminer Riesling, and people liked it.
I think so.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to this, mainly because there's two products made of tea, and I know quite a bit about tea, so I feel like I can weigh in at equal measure with Christine this week. So are we going to start with the Jing?
We're definitely going to start with the Jing. It was a close call, actually, whether to start with the Jing or the Holos, but I think the Jing, and I think it would be a sensational aperitif.
So before dinner, not with dinner.
Well, possibly with dinner. Depends what you're going to eat. But let's taste it.
Well, just so you know, this has got a crown cap. So often we don't have things in this tasting that have a crown cap. Is that better? Is it worse?
It's really good. Champagne would have a crown cap if they weren't so posh. And what most people don't know is that while champagne is lying in the cellar on its side, with the yeast lees happening, it has a crown cap. It only gets a fancy cork and a cage and everything when they send it off to be sold.
When they come to charge you for it.
Yeah, that's right.
So I'm going to take the cap off.
But crown caps are good.
So you don't get pop. That's what you don't get. But here we go. So
yes.
Do you want to talk to people about Jing as a company? I actually know them through tea, but.
Yeah, well, they are a tea company. This is their first product, which is, in any way, something that we would look at for a wine box. It's their first bottled cold product. They've been going since, I think, about 2004. It was founded by a guy called Ed Eisler, who is really passionate about single garden tea. And you probably drink some of their teas. They make some lovely.
Yes,
they import some.
If I go to a cafe and I see that they've got Jing Tea, I'm particularly happy. They import single estate loose leaf teas. They know their tea really well. It's of a good quality, and I can tell you there's a big difference between the quality of the stuff that you might get in a Twinings or tea pyramid and what you get when you get it from a company that's imported specifically a very specific tea from a very specific farm.
Yeah, they're really good. But I was doing a bit of research on this because since I first tasted it, I was absolutely amazed. And I wasn't really surprised that they did some of the work on, reaching the decision to make this with a sommelier. So there you go, a wine expert kind of, I think, helped them decide that it would be carbonated because they were playing around with cold brew teas, but something they found out, which a lot of people find out, is that it's easy enough to make cold brew tea, but it's very hard to make it stable and put it in a bottle and sell.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a thing called tea wine in Japan, which is very much a similar thing.
Yeah.
And I cold brew tea a lot during the summer. It's also great if you don't want to release the caffeine in your tea because it's heat that releases the caffeine. So you don't brew a hot tea and make it cold. You literally put the leaves overnight in some cold water.
And this is very low caffeine.
Yeah, I was going to ask, do you know if they brew it hot at all, or do they literally cold brew it? That does make this very.
They brew it cold, and apparently Ed went to Japan because he felt that was where the most expertise was in cold brewing.
Yes, that's probably right. I was going to say, because jasmine's normally a Chinese tea.
Yes. But it is a green tea, but it's scented with the jasmine.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that people don't know about jasmine tea, which is it's a scented green tea. It's not a flavoured tea, which means if you hold your nose while you're drinking jasmine tea, it will taste just of green tea. You won't. It's the floral aromas that hit your nose that make you think you're going for something flavoured, but actually it just tastes of green tea. Yeah. I guess the other thing to say, is I often cold brew jasmine. It does really well because of the aroma in sparkling water. So you could just literally get a bottle of sparkling water, put some jasmine pearls in it. It goes mental in sparkling water, so you have to be really careful when you open it. But you can. I used to call that my tea champagne. But they've done a little bit more here. It's more than just tea.
They have. It's also tea pearls, which you can probably explain.
Yeah, jasmine pearls. Yeah, so jasmine pearls are all tea is from the same tea leaf. They're processed in a different way, and they make jasmine pearls, which are sometimes really handy to take out with you when you're going out and about, because they're really easy to just plop into some hot water and let them unfurl. But they're normally
convenience tea.
Rolled. Convenience tea, but they're normally these small little balls, and as you brew them properly, they open out. It's not a flower; it just is the leaf that opens out. So you need quite a lot of room for them to open too. So anyway, it's got a beautiful colour. So it does smell of jasmine.
And even though it didn't go pop, it's definitely got a little, what the champagne people would call mousse. It's got a sort of nice ring of white bubbles around it. And going back to the involvement of the sommelier, I think what they realised was that by putting the CO2 and carbonating it, it helped to lift the aroma.
It does. I think definitely cold brewed tea and sparkling water helps generally. Yeah. I think this is fascinating because I was expecting it to be sweeter somehow, but it isn't. It's actually very subtle. There's obviously more than just tea. Is there more than just tea?
Well, there is no sugar. It is bone dry.
It is.
This is absolutely no alcohol, absolutely no sugar. There is one other ingredient, which is tartaric acid, which is not as chemical as it sounds. It's something that when you make wine out of grapes, the acidity of the grapes is tartaric acid. And then before you bottle wine, they often chill it for a couple of days, and some of the acidity crystallizes, and you get these lovely powdery white crystals. And that's what they've used from a wine producer. They've used those crystals.
Is that to keep it stable in the bottle?
It's to give it acidity.
To give it
a freshness.
Because when you make a cordial, you'll put citric acid in, and is that the same?
Well, that will give some acidity, but tartaric acid is really about giving it freshness in the mouth.
I'm absolutely amazed. I was really expecting something to be quite sweet in the bottle, and I don't know why. Even though I know it says no sugar on it, I was still expecting something to be different. And this is what I expect. If I cold brew a tea at home, a jasmine tea at home, it isn't this good because I often forget about it and leave it too long, at which point it goes slightly bitter, even in cold water. But this is beautiful.
I think this is sensational.
And you get those lovely tannins from tea in there. So that little bit of dryness that hits the top of your mouth, I think. Yeah,
it does. And you get that acidity gives you sort of down either side of your tongue, really, the sides of the mouth. It makes your mouth water.
And I definitely, after I've taken a sip, it hits the back of my tongue a bit later, and there's another wave of different taste. I wonder if should I do the nose holding test?
Yeah, go on. I'm not going to do it.
It does just taste of green tea.
But not just.
No, not just. It does taste. All right. I know that's. I'm doing the service quick. I won't show them that, but I think what that says to me is that that means it's a lesson for all alcohol-free drinks, isn't it? Which is that there is something about the aroma of the product that you create that is an overall part of the experience.
Yes.
And jasmine tea definitely. And at the base of it is a green tea, but the jasmine creates an experience.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it would actually, you know, green tea, unless you work on a really good green tea like an oolong or even a cold brew sencha, it's not very much, if you see what I mean, on its own. But with the aroma and everything else, it's amazing.
I think this is astonishing. It's by far the driest thing we've ever tasted.
That's
since
true.
We've been doing
That's so true.
This box, which is why I really think this is a fantastic aperitif. And if you know, and some people might be thinking, why would I be drinking, you know, jasmine tea instead of a glass of champagne or prosecco? Well, all I can say is you've got to try it. It's like a scalpel compared to a butter knife. You know, it's a real razor blade of a drink. It's so clean and precise and pure and absolutely.
I wonder if I mean, it certainly would go with nearly all dishes that you would eat as well during a meal. It would go with sort of like chicken dishes. It might go with a Christmas turkey. It might actually balance all of those flavours quite well.
It might do. Yeah, it might do. I think you couldn't have any sweetness in the food. So although you drink jasmine tea with Chinese food, something like Cantonese food with sweetness in might set up a clash. I haven't tried it with that, but I definitely think, you know, poultry. It would probably overpower fish a little, but poultry definitely. It might not overpower smoked salmon or something like that.
Nothing can overpower smoked salmon.
You know? No. True.
So I've been passing some off stage because Ali, who helps us put together the boxes, is here. What do you think, Ali?
I really like it. I'm not a big fan of jasmine tea when it's hot, but this is really lovely, and the jasmine is just a nice sort of little tinge of flavour. And I think without it, it would be a little bit lost and just a bit kind of.
You're right. So the jasmine isn't overpowering.
Yeah.
So I think that's.
I think if you're somebody who drinks or used to drink wine and you liked things like Sauvignon Blanc, perhaps, or you know, Riesling, or maybe the Gewürztraminer, those grapes which are really zesty but quite perfumed, then I think this would really hit a chord for you.
Absolutely. As
So
always, I think it goes
for
with
hitting a
chocolate,
chord.
because everything goes with chocolate, right?
If you're angling for chocolate, I have got Freddo's in the fridge.
No, I quality chocolate only, Christine.
You ate Freddo's on video last month, so
Only because that's forced. All right, let's move on.
I'm not having any of that.
So now we have Holos, which is in this beautiful bottle, and I learned from you. This is or maybe it's from somebody else. Cork and Cage. This is called.
Yes, that's right.
See, look at me and my learning.
Yeah, and later on we can look at a capsule as well.
There's a whole world of closures in the drinks world.
Or closures, yeah.
It's exciting stuff.
Wine people are very fussy about closures, and non-alcoholic drink people are now getting very fussy.
Very fussy about
This
closures.
is even more important.
Keeping a non-alcoholic drink safe in the bottle means that they have to think long and hard about it. Just to say, I love the fact that this is black label on a black bottle with, and this label's got a nice bit of texture about it. It's a matte label, and it feels very posh.
Well, it is very posh. This is a very premium kombucha. It's a kombucha, but you know, and I know we talked about kombucha before, but put your hand on that cork.
Oh, do you think it's sorry? I think I did the wrong thing. I took the cage off and then I didn't hold on to the cork. Such an amateur.
Well, you know, I mean,
okay,
I might get the hole in the
You've
ceiling.
still got your light fittings, Christine. You've still got light fittings.
Yeah.
All right, it's coming now. Oh, but that's a beautiful sound for Christmas Day, right?
That is a fab sound for Christmas Day. And we're not mad going for two sparklers. I think you'll see why when you try it.
Oh God, they're so different, because that was a very lightly carbonated, and I'm anticipating, because this is a kombucha, that there's it's a more lively carbonation, because it is a live product. Did I do that right, Christine?
Yes, you remarkably well. That was good.
I'm learning. No, if I was to do it properly, I'm gonna get Ali's glass. I would do what you taught me last time, which is put my finger there in the bottom of the
and have the label on top so that everyone can see it. Yeah, cool.
There we go. Oh, it feels very
good.
Oh, look at that. And then I spin it. Oh, and then I'm stuck. Where do I go from here?
Like you'll work it out.
It's a daring exit there. Right, what have we got here? Oh, now this is a very different colour.
Yeah, and it might seem a bit counterintuitive. You know, we tend to, with drinks, work from what happen to be lighter coloured ones to darker coloured ones. But I've spent sort of years trying to persuade people that that's not what it's really about. You shouldn't worry too much about the colour. Yes, it's a pale colour, but this is a much bigger beast than the gin.
It is. It's got, because it's a kombucha, I assume it's because it's got a lot more acidity.
It's got a lot more acidity, but it's got fermentation around. So it's got tea, it's got bubbles, it's got acidity, but it's got fermentation as well. And that fermentation has happened with sugar, so there is still some sugar in there. You know, it's alive. It's
yeah. I mean, kombucha is made by making a very sweet hot brewed tea. You make a hot brewed tea. You add in lots of sugar, and everyone goes, "Oh no, there's loads of sugar." And then you have to know that the sugar is not for you. It's for SCOBY, and the SCOBY is the live organism on the top that helps ferment the green tea. It's like a mushroom.
Symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast.
Yeah, and you can give them names. I tried kombucha once, and I think I called them Peter and Paul or something.
Right.
They do look like they're
moving
aliens.
swiftly on.
Yeah.
And yes, raw cane sugar they use. Just to comment, and also to comment, occasionally you'll come across a pasteurized kombucha. This is not, which means it's live and has lots of beneficial benefits.
Yeah, so
isn't how you say it.
It's a live drink, so it's a bit like having a live yogurt or something like that. There's
exactly.
Good things that go in your stomach.
Yeah.
Oh, I could drink this all day.
It's rich, you know, compared with the gin, which you know we talked about as an aperitif from some types of food. This is much richer.
It is, and it's and whilst it's sweeter than the gin, which is, you know, totally a cold brew tea, what it is the acidity balances that sweetness out. So what you get is something which I'd describe a bit more like a prosecco, or even a very light but scrumpy cider. In my view, it's that
definitely a scrumpy cider.
Yeah.
So, for this particular kombucha, they on the website, if you look at the Holos website, they'll talk about, you know, the fact that it can have bits floating around in it, which most kombuchas can do. But you know, if you come from an interest in wine and you've tried pet nap wines, you know, these sort of trendy new ancient method sparkling wines that generally escape from the bottle by themselves because they're so alive but very, very funky. This is quite in the style of a pet nap, I would say.
It is, and actually they've done well in the, I guess, the filtering to make sure that there aren't lots of bits of SCOBY and things that are part of the process in there, and it's that beautifully clear in the glass. The carbonation is slightly more than the gin as well.
But you shouldn't worry if you get bits, and there might be some at the bottom of the bottle.
Yeah.
So that's all fine. You know, that's perfectly good.
There's another reason why I thought Holos would be good for this box, which is that I've known Holos for a few years now, and they are an ethical and social business, which means they work with people who have been, in their workforce, people who have been victims of modern slavery or people trafficking, which is awesome.
Yeah, and I love this as well, you know, for the season of goodwill. I don't think you could have more goodwill than to support a company like this, where you're directly supporting people that need it most.
Yeah, and this is, I mean, this is their, you know, bottle in a champagne bottle shape, but they also do smaller versions with different flavours of their kombuchas, and I think you can find them in Waitrose at the moment.
Yeah, I think you probably can.
I saw this in Budgeons and Upper Street in Islington. I was very excited. Not only that,
Oh,
because
Budgeons.
Budgeons and Upper Street, very interesting. Completely integrate low and no into wherever they are. So this is in the wine section of the fridge, along with all the other white wines. I was like, oh, there's Holos. It's in the wine section. It's not even separated out. I mean, part of me thinks they need to separate out because people need to be able to see it rather than it being stuck in the fridge. But for me, it was really interesting that they've got this great range and it's all over the place. So
yeah, which is fantastic. Really, really good. I think it's in St Marks and Spencer's, isn't it? I don't know.
Oh, you might be right. I might have got the weight clothes wrong. And no, you're right. Marks and Spencer's and therefore Ocado. Thank you, Christine.
I haven't found it on Ocado, but I will keep looking because it is really good. And you know, just going back to Christmas and talking about what food this would go with. If you have the kind of Christmas dinner which has about 25 things on the plate, including things like sauce or whatever else, and it's rich and sweet or whatever, I think this will handle it perfectly.
Cut through all of that.
Yeah, and you still have the flavour, and there is a tea flavour there. But as I say, when I say fermentation flavours, they're usually savoury, a bit bready flavours.
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah, I was going to say that it's an
fermentation.
oolong tea, which an oolong can be a little bit buttery as well. So
Yeah, that's
depending
a
on
good
which
word
one, I'm
for
not
this.
sure what oolong it says on here.
Oh,
It's with Ali Shan. This is Ali Shan is the first oolong. It is the tea that I drank that got me into tea. So it's a high mountain oolong, and again, actually like the Jing, which comes in Jasmine Pearls. Ali Shan comes in very tight little balls of tea, and they're made by getting the tea leaves, drying them a bit, then wrapping them in a cloth and twisting the cloth and twisting the cloth, and then they open up the cloth and then they separate out every set of tea leaves, because there's about 5 or 6 leaves on one stem. They separate them all out separately, they dry and oxidize a bit longer, and then they wrap them up again in a ball until, and so it goes about 5 or 6 times to get them into these small little, they're less like the jasmine balls, a little bit more like small pellets. And yes, it's a very buttery oolong tea.
Very labour intensive.
It's incredible. Tea is just so labour intensive when it's done properly. So yeah, so it's a Taiwanese tea. And definitely.
It's absolutely delicious.
I always do more. You want more, don't you, Ali? You can quote yourself.
Ali's smiling.
Ali's going that we need to make sure we drink all of this before we leave, right?
Possibly.
So if you haven't explored kombuchas, I'd also say that, you know, this is a really good kombucha if you haven't tried before.
Yeah. You
will find in health food shops there are lots of kombuchas packed full of blueberries and other, you know, health-giving ingredients. And sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes they hide what is really a really poor quality kombucha in the bottom, and they can be really vinegary. This isn't like that. This is a lot smoother, but it's an unusual. If you've not drunk kombucha before, it's a bit of a strange taste. You're like, well, I recognise some of these things from alcohol I used to drink, but it's also a really weird set of flavours because it's also not the alcohol, but it's also not a tea in the way that I'd expect. You know, the way that you taste the jasmine in the Jing tea. So again, just like any alcohol-free wine, give it a few more goes. Try it, share a bottle with a friend. Maybe search out some of the smaller bottles that they've got in Marks and Spencer's. Go for tea. For kombuchas that haven't got stuffed full of flavourings, but instead, you know, one that might have a tea in its base that it's made with. So another left field kombucha or real kombucha are other options on that.
Yeah, and that's really interesting hearing you talk about that, because when I first tried kombucha, I didn't know that it was made from tea. I didn't really know anything about it. It seemed like a, you know, some kind of trendy fizzy drink, and I loved it right from the start. And I think, you know, it's quite easy to get a bit nervous about something you haven't tried. But I think kombucha is easy to like, and I certainly, you know, a really premium one like this, I think it's very easy to like.
I'm glad I persevered with kombucha, because there used to be, before kombucha really got popular here, there was one I picked up in in Holland and Barrett, which was awful. It was
Was it?
terrible.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I don't like this. It's awful. But you have to find the right one for you, really.
Yes.
And it's just like anything. It's just like wine, alcoholic wine. You get what you pay for.
Yeah, definitely. You definitely do.
Oh, which is we didn't say the Jing is £17.
I don't know. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and I can't remember what this one is.
I think this is about the same, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
very premium.
Yeah.
This the big bottle is.
So this is definitely a special treat, but it's one that also is from an ethical business. So there we are.
And it's refreshing. I mean, you can have this with your Christmas dinner and actually come out of it and still be awake.
I like telling people that I go to the pub and drink kombucha, which means I come out the pub healthier, which I feel is some sort of superhero win.
That's your superpower, yeah.
Yeah, I go to the pub, I come out healthier. I've had a salad and a kombucha and had a great time with everybody. So all mental health options ticked.
Yes.
So on to our last one, which is a very cautious red.
Yes, a Shiraz.
Shiraz. And everybody, so this closure, come on Christine, what's this one called?
It's actually called a Stelvin, but you wouldn't, that's a winemaker's word.
Screw
It's
top.
a screw cap, but the part which, on wines goes over the top is called the capsule.
Now you taught me
We have to have
that
words.
to open this, I twist the bottom bit, not the top bit.
Well, the whole thing.
The whole thing. All right.
Until
So
it cracks.
I'd like to prove to you that I listened to you, Christine.
I'm really impressed, actually.
So am I.
Wow.
So the whole thing. Oh yeah, that's so much easier.
It is so much easier.
It's like I was this old when I learned that. This old, which is obviously 21.
Well, us blind people, we have to make a song and dance out of opening things, don't
Oh
we?
yeah.
Thank you.
There you go. So this is Shiraz.
And if that doesn't look, let's hold it against the white. If that doesn't look like a classic glass of Shiraz, I have no idea what does.
Ooh, I do this all the time with alcohol-free reds. I put them up to the light to see whether I can see through or not.
Yeah, well, actually, the official wine tasting way is you have some white paper, and you look at. Here we go. Look, you look at the white paper through the wine, and that way you can see how dark it is. You can see the colour on the rim, which tells you if it's old or young or whatever. It's only really important if you are a wine geek, but like having a spittoon on the table, which always makes you laugh. I have to do these things.
Whereas we're just drinks geeks, these are all just drinks,
yeah.
and some of them emulate and are a bit like things that we used to know when we were drinking alcohol, but ultimately they're all just drinks. Oh, this smells a little bit oaky.
Yes, well, Shiraz and Syrah are the same grape. Okay, so this is Australian fruit. It's an Australian company, but it's de-alcoholized in Belgium, I think. And Shiraz and Syrah grapes, they're very dark skinned. So that's where the colour comes from. They take to oak aging very well, which I think this has had some of. And they're also quite fragrant, quite floral and fragrant.
I've got one word for this, which is it's delicious.
It's really nice, isn't it?
It's fruity, and it's got a beautiful smell, and it's fruity, and it's not got any harsh astringency, which sometimes you can get with some de-alcoholized wine. So it's quite soft as well, and so it's just nice.
Yeah. Well, bear in mind that the parent company here, a bit like the Ariel that we've had a couple of times, the parent company here has been making good wines for a long time. So they've got a standard to keep up, and they, I think they've done it.
I don't know how I'm gonna, people keep now asking me my favourite reds, and this would have to definitely go into that list.
Yeah, this is one of the best, I think, and not massively expensive given the quality, and I think that's sometimes what you get when you buy something from a big company that they've made a commitment to do it properly, but they've got economies of scale as well.
And it's very low on calories. This is 18 calories, but is that per 100
for 100 ml?
Yeah. So you're looking at 36
for
40
quite a decent big
for
glass,
a good
actually.
glass. I can't remember. Is it £6.99, £5.99? I've been very bad this time. I normally have the prices written
You
down.
do, and I don't know why you're looking at me because I never have them.
Oh,
Sorry.
Wow. You know, it'll be on the things that we produce afterwards. But you know, we've just taken you for some really expensive products that you can try, down to something that's at a slightly lower price range, but we still think is really special.
Yes.
And it does, you know, now with your lights up in the room here, it does make me feel slightly festive, Christine.
Hooray!
I've definitely got that feel like I'm already thinking, ooh, I think my mum will like this at Christmas, and she's going to spend Christmas with us. And so yeah, maybe I'll get a bottle of this for Christmas.
I'm definitely getting this to have with my mum at Christmas. Mums will like this. This is mums will.
It's a mum pleaser.
Definitely a mum pleaser.
I don't know what that means, everybody. I do not know what that means. But like I say, it's delicious. It's very drinkable. Again, it's got enough speed humps in there for me to not want to gulp it all down at once, and to not feel like it's some flavoured juice at all. It's not like
exactly. I think people often worry that a de-alcoholized wine is just going to be fruit juice. It's just going to be grape juice, but it is so much more than that, because it has been wine. It has been through fermentation, and I can never say it often enough, but fermentation isn't just to create alcohol, it's to add flavour and texture and complexity. And if you take the alcohol out really skillfully, you've still got some of that flavour and complexity, and this does.
And that's really good for 0.0. I was just double checking the bottle.
Astonishingly
again,
good. For
I'm looking at that and thinking, wow, they've got that taste, that amount of body, that amount of flavour, and it's still a 0.0.
If you put this next to a red grape juice, you would really feel the difference. So well done them.
Yeah. And it's got really, I really quite like the branding. It's good fun.
The very cautious one.
Yeah, very cautious, and it's slightly sophisticated. So again, you not feel like you're drinking a kid's drink. It feels grown up.
Well, the company behind this, their most famous wine, I would say, is actually a sweet wine called the Noble One, which is about something slightly different. But it's a play on their most famous wine, and I think it tells you
that it's not the noble one, it's the cautious one.
Yeah, I think it tells you that they are proud of this, that they put a hint, about their most famous wine on the label. And
I have to say that when it comes to alcohol-free brands that put their logo for their alcohol-free that matches, if it matches their alcoholic products. So Heineken's a good example of that. Means that's quite a big and bold move. Yeah. That means that they're proud of the product. They're proud to put their mark on it. Yeah. To show that their brand can do more, and that alcohol free is important to them. Yeah. Don't underestimate that. And so I did not know that about this brand, and so that makes me slightly excited. And it also says you don't need a higher percentage to have fun,
which is right. And the one other thing, you might come across this wine with a completely different label and name. When you have big wine companies and they sell a lot to
who else do they make it for?
No, it's for them. Oh no, when big wine companies have their products in supermarkets, then independent retailers and restaurants tend to go, oh no, we don't want that. It's in a supermarket and everyone knows how much it is and we can't make lots of money, blah blah blah, which is all daft. But they have another label on the same wine, which is De Bortoli Willow Glen. So if you come across Willow Glen, that's this.
But I've never seen that anywhere.
Well, no, neither have I. So obviously their distribution strategy hasn't quite worked. But I'm just telling you, if you come across De Bortoli Willow Glen Shiraz, that's this.
I was going to say something else that was profound and really interesting, but I forgot what it was.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. I think these are 3 corkers for Christmas.
Absolutely. I've got the 3 glasses here, and I'm really just want to sit here and drink all 3 of them.
Oh well, we can sit and have a gossip talk about the next wine boxes, which I'm really excited
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
We're beginning to really,
Next one will be for the new year, right?
yeah, and I'm trying not to put too many things that are sparkling and fizzy in, because New Year shouldn't only be about things that are in a champagne type bottle,
No.
or Kincaid bottle. But let's see if we can find some really interesting ones for you next time.
Yeah, I'm sure we will.
Thanks so much, Christine.
A pleasure, Laura. Thank you.
Cool.
Great
We're
to
going to
have
end
some
it
ice creams.
there.